I'm not a literalist when I paint. I'm somewhere between an impressionist and an abstract painter. And I love walking the line between those two, and I love incorporating both those in the same painting. There are so many aspects of art that are enjoyable to me. One is it's infinite. There's no end point in being an artist. You never reach a point where you can kind of say, well, I'm finished now. Every painting that you paint, whether it's your 10th painting or your 10,000th painting, is as much of a challenge as the first one. I've tried various mediums. I did watercolor for a bit, did and still do a fair amount of charcoal drawing and graphite drawing. I always go to oil, and I do that because oil has qualities about it that none of the others have. It is so delicious. Oil has a depth to it, a luminosity to it, a clarity to it that you cannot get in any other media. Quite a bit of my focus now is teaching. There's a certain sense that as you get older, you start to develop that you'd like to pass along to others what it took, in my case, 50 years to learn. If I can pass that along to them in a year or two, I have shaved a tremendous amount of time and frustration off their learning curve. One of the things I tell them is I cannot teach them how to paint, but I can show them how I paint. And then they can take those techniques, those approaches, and develop their own techniques and approaches. One of the hardest things in creating is to be objective. And the only way to be objective, I think, is to paint only for yourself. If others like it, that's bonus. If they like it enough to buy it, that's bonus. But that's not the reason for doing it. If you paint for yourself, you'll be the richest person in the world. When it's time to paint, I don't use photograph. I don't do a preliminary sketch. I just mentally pull up that memory, and whatever about that memory caused me to retain it, whatever the wow factor was, I paint that. Quite often people will ask me, how do I get the illusion of light in my work? And when I first started hearing that question, I thought, well, my gosh, if I didn't have light in it, you wouldn't be able to see it. I think the most overriding thing that's always on my mind is the realization that in nature, light creates the color. In painting, color creates the light. Generally, the thing that causes me to want to paint it is the light. So if you're wanting to add light to a scene, pay absolute attention to what color you're using, yes, but also within that color, the chroma, which is the relative strength of it, but also within that, the temperature that you're using. Also be very aware of what's going to be next to that piece of paint when you put it on the panel. Because one of the ways to get light is to put a piece of paint next to a dark. There is a point when you're doing a painting that if you will listen, the painting will tell you what to do next. And in that same vein, the painting will tell you when you're finished. My goal when I'm painting is to hear that voice. You know, one of the hardest questions I think to answer completely is, what is art? Art is that which is attractive, fun to look at, enjoyable, but it also has a message. And when a person looks at it, it causes them to think. It causes them to feel. I want the viewer to be able to feel what I felt when I painted it. To take a two-dimensional surface and manipulate pigment on it in a particular way, so you end up with something that is, I think, the most intimate communication you can have with other human beings. And I can't think of any other things, if any other things, in life where you're in such a privileged position to be able to communicate with the entire world with the stroke of a brush.
I paint for myself, so when I saw this workshop was available and I saw the beautiful work that he does, especially with skies, I wanted to come to Jim's class.
When I took my lessons from Jim, he showed me how to apply it with a palette knife, how to apply it with a brush, how to apply it with my finger, how to put it on thin and thick.
Now I've taken lessons with Jim McDonald, and he's helping me filling in areas like mist and clouds and reflections and water, which are really areas I didn't know how to do at all.
Jim McDonald, he is really such a good instructor, and he gives us a lot of important information, and there's a lot I can learn from him. And this is my second time I attended his workshop.
Students, I've asked them, they're all having a great time and they love learning from him. So we're grateful.
You can take a painting and show it to anyone, anywhere in the world. And without a spoken word, they will know something about you, about the scene that you painted. So it's that visceral sharing of the most intimate part of an artist with the most intimate part of a viewer. And that's one of the joys of painting, is to be able to share that with others.